Are there other questions? Go ahead.
Did any of you have like an aha moment in your career that really walked you into this field?
Interesting question.
Well, I grew up here in Berkeley. I went to Washington Elementary School, and I would say my career started there when people at the Ecology Center helped to tear out our asphalt kickball field, which we were initially really upset about, and put in a redwood forest. So it was really amazing for me to come back here, not knowing that history, and find the plans for that project in our library. But I would say the aha, moment for me was really I went to school in San Diego after high school, and it was a very different environment than being here in Berkeley, and I felt like in the Bay Area there seems so many people involved in everything that I could kind of ignore it all and just do my own thing. And there were so few people involved in anything related to environment and social justice that somehow I ended up knowing them all. So the aha was like, oh no, I really do have to be involved, and this is somewhere part of my genetic code or my upbringing or something. But just the fact that there are people working on stuff doesn't mean that I don't have to. I think we all have a civic responsibility to try and make the world a better place. So finding what that is and where your passion accumulates about that can be hard for some people, really easy for others. But I think the aha for me was like, yeah, I have to do something. And rather than just volunteering and working for a finance institution and volunteering for these great causes on my free time, no, I want to do it the other way, like working for this and then having my free time to do other things.
It's like finance.
Trying to figure out my finances.
Sheila, did you have an aha moment?
I think when I have always wanted to be involved in social justice issues, and I probably have several kind of other careers. I have been a journalist and decided that wasn't it for me. And then I worked at a legislative office in San Francisco, state legislator. And I felt like I was kind of hired on as a token. I was going to deal with the environmental issues in the local field office, as well as in San Francisco, the Bayview community. So it's kind of African American, and then environmental issues. And I really didn't. I went to school. I went to UC Santa Cruz, and so I always was interested in environmental issues, and I covered them when I was a reporter. And so I just got hired, right? And then I got there, and it's like, these two issues are just like so polemic here, the one on the far end of each corner. So I thought, well, how do I integrate this? How do people in that community at that time just really did not like and embrace environmental issues, because it was like constantly environmental groups coming and telling them at that time, not now, but shut down the power plant. People were saying, we work here, we need jobs, and so then I thought, maybe I can look for some kind of environmental issue that actually creates jobs. And I thought, well, why not recycling? And so ever since then, I've been in recycling. And I started doing recycling legislation, in the office, and that I thought would create jobs, like working on taking apart computers and recycling computers. And I found out that it wouldn't, because there's so many toxics in it. And so then I became more of I had another aha moment in like, okay, recycling is not going to happen. You're not going to create jobs unless all these products are designed different, and these companies that are making them behave different. And so I became more of an advocate. But that's kind of how I got into it. And I'm still very passionate about that. I still really want to see jobs created through the recycling, and that it be a green economy. So.
Interesting. It's a long and winding road. What about you?
Well, it's sort of sort of two-pronged answer, which is that on organizing in general, I started organizing in elementary school, and that just never stopped. My parents would roll their eyes at me, but so that's just sort of part of who I am, and so that's one side of it. But on these types of issues, I don't know. I did recycling in high school and other types of things, but it just sort of seemed like I don't know if I was especially passionate about it. It just it was something that everyone should just do. And it wasn't, I think, until I started working, my first job out of college was working to support communities in Nigeria, in the Niger Delta, where Shell and other companies have been extracting oil for decades and just dumping, the oil remains all over the place. I mean, it's just a disaster in a number of these, all over the Niger Delta. And so I actually got to go to Nigeria with a delegation in, I think, 1999 or so, and meet people and talk about the impacts of oil extraction on people's lives. And so having that connection really is what keeps my fire going on recycling and on waste reduction and composting, and making sure that the resources that are extracted, that we don't just waste them. It's just crazy. That we keep them in the economy, and so that's what really drives me.